Hey, what is going on? What is going on with y'all, man? It's Black Balloon coming back with another video, so y'all already know what's going on, alright? Look, so this is basically going to be the talk, kind of the continuation video that I did on YouTube. I'm pretty sure most of y'all caught that video. Y'all know the video about the Omicron variant. Obviously on that video, I couldn't really say too much. Y'all already know how YouTube is. Anything that comes across as misinformation, they'll flag and they'll delete it immediately, even if it sounds like misinformation. You know what I'm saying? If it's not supported by the World Health Organization or the CDC, it's automatically dismissed. All right. So I got this article up, and once again, it's basically just going to be a continuation from that video, talk a little bit more about it. And I could kind of just, tell y'all a story that I told on YouTube a while back, but the video got deleted because of showing this article and the fact that I was talking about COVID being in the United States before the time that, the CDC and the World Health Organization announced it, or maybe before. No, I can't say that because they definitely were aware of it because they're the ones that are behind this. So, still and before we really start, I'm still not going to go too crazy on this video because people do get their Patreons flagged and deleted. They have been banning Patreons. They have been taking people's Vimeo accounts as well, because I use Vimeo to host the video for Patreon. So, still can't go too crazy because y'all already know they control every damn thing. But anyways, right? So I had found this article, and it was a legit article. You could Google this for yourself. You'll find it. There's plenty of articles out there. I don't know about plenty, but there's a couple of articles out there that talk about COVID actually being in the U.S. in late 2019, right? And when I saw it, it confirmed that my video was true, and the fact that I had already caught COVID in kind of late 2019 before it was even a thing, right? So the video I did on YouTube, the video was about basically me catching COVID in late 2019. It was late September. And I had I think that video got up to 400 comments before it got deleted, before YouTube caught it and deleted it. Out of those 400 comments, no lie, I would say 300 of them were the same stories from people, who basically said they got sick late 2019 like they had never been sick before. They all had similar stories that I had. And I caught it late September. And I thought it was crazy they deleted the video for misinformation. I probably went a little bit too far because this was a while ago, actually. When this article came out, this was a while ago. It's probably close to a year ago. I would say like at least 8 or 9 months ago. It's been a little second. So I was surprised because I wasn't really saying nothing crazy. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I went overboard probably saying this shit was fake and all that shit. But the article was real. Like, this is a real article. Like I said, y'all can go and look it up for yourselves, So I kind of didn't understand why they deleted that video because this was something they had put out, because they said from blood samples, and I saw something else. It was like blood samples and antibodies they were able to test from people who had caught it. And basically the samples were dating back to late 2019. They said December 2019. In my video, I was like, nah, it was here even earlier than that. So that's probably what got it deleted, because it wasn't right along with the stuff that they put out for us to, whatever. But even that, think about that. Think about it. They said a new analysis of blood samples from 24,000 Americans taken early last year is the latest and largest study to suggest that the new coronavirus popped up in the U.S. in December 2019, weeks before cases were first recognized by health officials. So if you think about that, that means that means the first case that they say came into the US, like the case that they told us to, who they told the public. Y'all know how, like, when the virus first dropped, all the big news, it was about, if you could remember it, it was all about where it was coming from at first. Like when it first dropped, when coronavirus first dropped, it was all about this passenger that came from here back to the United States, got off a plane in Washington, and that's where the first, case was reported. Washington or somewhere in that area for when the coronavirus dropped back in 2020, early 2020. So think about it. If they started clocking it right then and there as like, oh yeah, this is the first case that we are aware of that was reported, you couldn't even imagine how many people had already caught coronavirus that were just being tested positive as the flu or some kind of strand of the flu. Just imagine how many people had already caught it before they were made aware of it. Or not even that, just before they decided to kick all of this shit off, because they wanted to make it seem like it started in China. They wanted to have a place of origin, a place where it came from, so that people can have someone to blame, when really at the end of the day, China and America is working in this shit, working on it together, because they both, in my opinion, released it on their countries. So think about that. You just never know how many people actually caught it before they made it a public, scare, and it became a thing. Because I, to this day, definitely believe I caught it when I did, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing why I say people were probably catching it and they were just being, told they had the flu. Even the doctors didn't know what they were testing them for. It probably just came back along the lines of the strand of the flu, because that's the same thing that happened to me. And it's also the same thing that happened to somebody else I knew in December. This was in December, though. They caught it in December of 2019. They couldn't smell, couldn't taste anything, and the doctor just said they had a strand of the flu that they didn't really know about. That's what he told one of my friends. This was in December 2019, so it hadn't been announced yet, really. I think it was still mostly in China. And as far as mines, I had all kind of tests ran on me, on my heart, because my heart rate was so fast. Like when I would stand up, it was abnormally fast. I had no sick what can I say? Basically, I didn't have a cough. I didn't have a runny nose. I didn't have shit. I had a small fever that wasn't even really a fever. I was probably like right at 100 or something like that. I can't really remember what's the fever mark. And it didn't last long, but the only thing that was going crazy was my heart. My heart rate and shit. Like it was just going crazy, and it was making me get dizzy. I was, having those dizzy spells, all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So they ran all kind of blood tests. They did chest x-rays. They even looked at my heart, lung x-rays, blood tests. They did all kind of shit. Everything came back negative. Everything was good. Blood work, heart was good. Heart rate was just fast. Chest was good, everything. And then he finally stuck the giant ass needle down my nose, and then 5 minutes later, they came back and said I'm the first patient in the hospital with the flu. And they said it wasn't normal because I didn't have any symptoms of what the flu would be, which is, nothing I was feeling. I had a small fever and a fast heart rate and dizzy spells. No one gets that shit from having the flu. You be sick, like your nose, you're coughing and shit. Maybe somebody get a little fatigue, maybe a little dizzy, but I think I was getting dizzy because of my heart rate and other shit that the virus was doing to my body, because I'd never been sick in my life. Never. I never had the flu. Nothing. Like, I'm one of those people that don't even get a cough. Like, the most that'll happen to me is my nose will be stopped up for like 2 or 3 days, and that's it. Never been sick to the point where I had to stay in the hospital, and that day I had to stay overnight. Like, they started coming with masks and all kind of shit when they found out I had the flu, because everybody was wondering, all the nurses, what the hell was going on, because none of the tests were coming back, saying anything until they did the flu test, and then it came back positive. And once coronavirus hit, see, at that time, there was no news of corona. It hadn't even broken China yet, I don't think. But once it hit, that's when we was like, oh, shit. Bro, I think you had COVID. There's no way I had the flu. And once we start hearing those same stories on YouTube, I had all those people telling me those same kind of stories. That's what made me believe even more that, COVID was here long before they actually told us and made it a thing. And that video got deleted immediately. It didn't last long at all. I think it might have been up for like 2 days at the most, maybe 3 days. They deleted that video and I got striked for it and everything. Like I got suspended for a week or two, I can't remember, over that video for misinformation. So I've never been able to talk about this. And this is not me just saying this shit. You know what I'm saying? I really got those stories. Like people really have those same stories. Even some of y'all that's listening now, you might have one of those stories from late 2019 getting sick. So I had people backing up my theory on it. Plus this article is everything. You know what I'm saying? The article proves that it was already here. They're just saying in December. They're not gonna stretch it way back to August, September, because then they'll catch a lot of heat for it. And people will know that this shit was fucking, what does it say? The coronavirus emerged in Wuhan, China in late 2019. Officially, the first U.S. infection to be identified was a travel. Yep, Washington State. I knew it was in Washington. Because I for some reason, I just remember all the shit that was happening once the shit first happened. He said he returned from Wuhan on January 15th and sought help at a clinic on January 19th. Now, think about that. And I've never really been able to talk about COVID on the channel and shit. So it feels good to kind of be able to talk about this. But think about this shit. Now I can kind of pick it apart a little bit. I kind of want to do a deeper video one day into this shit. But, for now, I'm just kind of going off the dome.
All right, y'all. So another point I wanted to make is the fact that, if they put out a study, now this was about a year after coronavirus, it went viral, pandemic, and all of that good stuff. Because I remember when the article dropped, and I feel like I was one of the only ones that brought it up on YouTube when it dropped. Now, that was, like I said, that was about 8 or 9 months ago when I did that video that got suspended. So that means they took about a year to drop that article because they knew, people weren't really going to pay attention to it. Now, we're talking about people that deal with viruses and deal with all this kind of stuff, on an everyday basis. They went to school for it. This is their job. So you're telling me that it took them a year to realize that if they decided to test blood and test antibodies from people who caught the virus, that those antibodies will show about 2 weeks. Basically, the antibodies can date back 2 to 3 weeks before a person was aware that they had a virus. The antibodies will show up that they had it about 3 weeks before they knew they had it. So in my mind, they already knew this about antibodies and testing blood when it comes to viruses and how you can find that someone had the virus long before they actually knew it or, health officials knew it. So it doesn't seem like, that this is just this is a brand new study. We just now realized that we can test antibodies to see if someone had a virus long before they actually knew they had it. So if you think about it, they took a year to put the article out because they wanted to roll out their plan the way that they wanted to. They wanted you to think, one person brought it here from China, and then next thing you know, it spread to thousands and thousands of people. When if you think about it, that's damn near impossible. But I don't think many people thought about it. I think no one actually saw these articles that they put out about the virus actually being here before it was actually here. You have to hear my point that I'm saying. These are scientists. These are people that do this every day. They already knew that they could test antibodies to see when the virus actually started in these people. So you can't tell me that that was just a new study that they decided to do just because they were bored and they wanted to test some, 24,000 people's blood or, test the antibodies to see if anyone caught it beforehand. You know, it just doesn't seem authentic. It just seems like that was all just a part of the plan to roll it out, a year later, even though it really, that article, they really don't serve any purpose because people are already so conditioned to the virus and believing the way that it started that they won't even think twice about an article that comes out, stating that the virus was actually here before it went, public. That's huge. That's huge. That's something that people should be in uproar about. Because if that's the case, then you have to question that if it could have been here earlier than December. It's huge. But people don't take it serious because people don't pay attention to this kind of stuff. And if they do, they just see it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, it was maybe here in December. All right, cool. And just chalk it up to that.
All right, y'all. So the last point I want to make in this video is going to be about Event 201 and how it basically relates back to the channel and the videos that I've done previously, even on Patreon as well, as far as Sandy Hook, the Boston Marathon bombings, and I think it was one more that, all of this stuff basically relates to. And it's crazy how, like, almost every video I do, no matter the topic, it kind of relates back to something in the past on the channel. It's like no matter what the topic is, there's always going to be something that, that kind of gives you the same pattern as, another video that we might have discussed. And in this one, it would be Event 201 and it would be FEMA, right? So now, most of y'all already know about Event 201 and how it happened right before COVID became a thing, right before the pandemic started. So basically, Event 201, as stated here, was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic, scenario-based facilitated discussions confronting difficult, true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. They use a lot of words in there to describe it, So basically, it was a simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now in the future. So basically, they were having to get together to discuss a future pandemic that they just knew was going to happen. Now, this relates to FEMA because just like the Boston Marathon bombings, 9/11, even the London bombings, Sandy Hook, and we have the receipts for all of this stuff. I got the receipts for everything. FEMA was on site of all of those psyops, all of those military psyops. They were on site for every last one of them. Remember, I think Obama was the one that made it a law that they could actually run psyops on the people, if I'm not mistaken. I may have to fact check that. But the rest of this stuff is proven. FEMA is always on site right before one of these military psyops happen. And that's why, when I did the video on the Omicron variant and, and y'all start pulling up a bunch of other stuff as well, like that game that was, I think, called Omicron. And it was a couple other things as well, like the island that's called Omicron, the Delta Island, and all that good stuff. So basically, with all of this stuff, with them having Event 201 right before the pandemic started, with FEMA always being on site of, psyops done to the public, as far as all the ones that I've named and I've covered on Patreon and on YouTube, this really shows us even more. It just proves even more that this stuff is planned from the jump. Because as I always say, man, there's no coincidence in none of this stuff. And especially not a coincidence that every single time something big happens, whether it's some kind of bombing, whatever, even the Boston Marathon bombings, people was reporting that, they were yelling over the, like I'm losing my train of thought, where they're in a crowd and they could speak through those little loud microphones and all that stuff. Basically, people were saying that this was an exercise. it was a drill, and it wasn't real. Like, I think hundreds of people reported hearing that. So it goes to show you that none of this stuff is actually genuine. None of this stuff just happens, you know? It's all pre-planned, or else FEMA wouldn't be on the scene of all of these psyops, basically orchestrating it before it happens. Event 201 would have never happened if they didn't have a pandemic already planned out. So this does nothing but just supports our theory that a coincidence doesn't exist in this world, and these are all planned events, all the way back to 9/11 up into the current pandemic that we're experiencing right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up right here. I'm definitely gonna come back with more. I just wanted to make this video as a continuation of the last video, because I did promise I would talk more about it. Like I did say, I do want to do a deeper video and just cover the entire thing, you know, maybe revisit a few of these points and just throw in a little bit more about the vaccination, the vaccine, and so on and so on, just about everything that has to do with the pandemic and COVID-19. So you know, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed that talk, man. This video is going on Patreon. It will be exclusive to Patreon. So once again, I really do appreciate y'all supporting me every month. Y'all already know what's going on, man. This is going on Patreon, and as usual, man, y'all expect another video on YouTube as well this weekend. Hope y'all having a good weekend, man. Y'all already know who it is. It's Black Balloon. And I'm going to see y'all soon. I'm out.